Sveiki. Europos Parlamentas turi apsispręsti ir apsisprendė dėl gamtos atkūrimo įstatymo. Kas tai per reikalas? Kodėl jisai toksai svarbus? Kodėl kilo tiek aistrų ir tiek ginčų? Ir aš pagalvojau, kad būtų labai smagu, jeigu tai paaiškintų mano kolega, kuris dirba aplinkos apsaugos komitete. Martinas Hojsikas, liberalas iš Slovakijos, yra tas žmogus, kuris šiandien mums atsakys į visus mums rūpimus klausimus. Dobre rano, Bratislava.
Dobre rano, and good morning to you.
Good morning, everybody. So, Martin, you are the right man, to respond to all major questions concerning the nature restoration law, since you are a member of the ENVI committee, Environment Protection Committee. So, I have 4 questions. Let's be very precise and focusing to our viewers and our voters, who are not neutral to nature, and we know, we have to support their arguments as well. The first one is, why do we need this law?
Well, because we have a problem. And the reason is, this is not about the protected areas. This is about everything outside of the protected areas. Our fields, our cities, our forests, they are not protected because we are losing nature. And what I mean with that, for example, is that we are losing pollinators. There is a big decline. Scientists are warning us that not only the bees, but also all the other wild pollinators are disappearing. So we need to help to restore the nature to have the food on the table.
So, you replied to my question because I heard so many arguments that there are so many laws already in force, and this one is excessive, not needed, so you hit the target with a very precise answer. The second one is what this law will change in essence, before and after.
Well, for me, this law is about making sure that the way we treat our land is helping to bring back the life to the diversity. It's not about having another layer of complexity. I see it as something which brings things together, that helps us to all the different things.
You mean a more complex way?
I think it's actually, for me, making it less complex.
Okay.
We have bits and pieces and we need to put them in one direction.
All right.
We've been talking about the need to, stop the loss of biodiversity and reverse it, but we didn't have something that gives us put the things together and gives us the direction. And I think this is where the nature restoration law comes in as a very important element. Just like the climate law, which provides the roof for all the climate, this is where we have the roof framework for bringing back the diversity, the nature to everything around us.
So we probably will embrace quite a change. And it will affect many sectors. Many of us, all right? In particular, probably farmers who've been protesting here in front of the European Parliament a day ago. So how much it might cost for the European Union and some individual member states? Maybe you have some statistics from Slovakia?
For me, it's not about a cost. Look, this is something where, how much does it cost to build a highway? Now, you invest in because it brings the development to a region.
Yeah.
And this is about the investment into protection or the change of some of the practices rather than having upfront cost that we help to save the pollinators. So we don't have the cost of figuring out how we pollinate the plant, and actually we still have a food on the table. And this is just one of the elements. It's not about, the costs of making our forest or managing our forests differently, because if you have the old type of a forestry with big monoculture, that it's not adapted to the climate change, it's also bad for biodiversity.
Yeah.
With the climate change and everything happening, you will not have these forests. They're more likely to burn. They're more likely to die during drought. While if you take the nature restoration into account and go into forestry closer to nature, it's more resilient to drought, it's more resilient to fires, and the diversity helps to stabilize it. So that's why I don't see it as it's a cost, but I see it as changing the way we do things and ultimately having an investment that helps us.
Martin made a very strong argument. Here you see the protection or restoration of nature, in particular focused on the seas. And you see €1 of investments to sea protection brings out from 8 to 38 euros back in benefits. In benefits. So that's why it's not a cost, it's investments to our common and better future.
And just to add to it, something important, we don't have sea. You guys do.
We do.
We're just a bit of an envy. We have better mountains. So we can do exchange. I come visit,
Please.
you come visit.
Most welcome.
No, but this also sometimes what we forget. We need to make sure that we have live seas, not only for the nature, but also for the fishermen.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we have fish to catch. And it's not only about the fish population itself. You know, the fish need to feed on something. So you need the ecosystem to be healthy so you can actually make a profit.
And my final question is, because the law must be decided. We will vote. And it will be a very decisive vote. There are many emotions, lots of discussions, and in particular EPP, conservatives of the European Parliament, they are going to vote in majority probably against. So how you would explain that, the nature is shared all among us. It's not politically divided. Why conservatives take such a stance?
For me, this is a very sad thing and a case where the leadership of the conservatives, coming from Germany, takes their domestic fight against the German government to the European level. Uses bullying practices that in our group would be unimaginable.
Indeed.
Can you imagine that you would be threatened if you don't want to vote the group line by punishments and pushed not to vote in your own committee? This is what happened. The conservatives changed 7 out of their own MEPs from the environmental committee, replacing them by people from outside of the committee, not even substitutes.
Yeah.
There have been calls.
Not even substitutes.
Not even substitutes. There have been calls to the party leaders back home. There have been threats. It's something which is for me worrying. They say that they want to protect nature, but the law is bad. But as a European Parliament, we are not a rubber stamp. We change the laws.
Yes.
That's why what we vote on and what our group supports is not the same what Commission proposed, but it's actually a different proposal, very, very close. In essence, the core of it is what the government already agreed on. Yeah. And I think this is where, if they have a problem, if they want to change it, if they say, well, we want to restore nature, but not in the way the Commission proposed it, that's their job as legislators here. They should have proposed the changes, talked with other groups. That's how we do business in European Parliament. We discuss things, we disagree and look for the common solution, not walk away from the table, blackmail our own people, and essentially do it in an autocratic way. And I think this is really, really sad.
Well, I can't agree more with Martin on this final issue. And we will vote in favor, both of us. We're strong believers in nature restoration, in animal welfare, by the way. We are both really actively engaged into these activities. So, Martin, renew Europe, restore nature, and indeed, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for inviting me.